San Bernardino Valley College. It is absolutely my pleasure this evening to come into you all again. Okay. But with us this evening is Siemens Mobility. This is really Siemens kind of more North America. Okay, and I'm saying they cover Canada. They are a global firm, and I'm going to let Kara speak to them. But you'll notice that their mobility, smart infrastructure. How do you really wind up this whole piece that we talk about? That infrastructure is important because of how it drives positive outcomes and can for people, communities, and for society. Okay. I'll tell you personally, see, and she'll tell you some about the company itself. My first introduction, and Siemens has evolved like many of us have. My first introduction to Siemens was from 2002 to 2007. I was the CEO of Sacramento Regional Transit District. And so when I was up in Sacramento for those 5 years, the original equipment for the light rail system for Sacramento, which goes back to like 86, 87, was Siemens equipment. Okay. And I can tell you that equipment, it was still running. I mean, it was like a tank. Okay. It really was like a tank. And so what Siemens has is they have one of their major manufacturing facilities for North in this part of the hemisphere is actually based in Sacramento. You know, McClellan Military Base, and you know how you heard about when all the base closures and everything really started happening. Oh God, probably more like about 8-9 years ago. So what they did was to literally wind up putting their facility up there. And so they were also able to help drive economic recovery and jobs creation up there. So you have vehicles from all over the country, all over North America, that are being manufactured in that Sacramento plant. And at some point, we're getting closer to this pandemic, but it's only like just right up the way. Okay, I'm saying it's not like we talking about forever. We could do some optional trips because to be able to see how all of this all comes together is absolutely fabulous. So Siemens has real skin in the game. We talk about all this North America and what they do globally and all that, but I want you to really understand from the beginning that they have a real commitment and skin in the game in California in terms of helping to drive outcomes. And the other thing I want you all to put down on your plate, I think the pandemic it's not gone. Now we're gonna be good about this, okay? But I'm gonna plan to come down to I'm looking to come down to join you for the November 30th session, okay? And then you are gonna start saying to yourself, Lord, we're seeing her too much, okay? But anyway, I'm looking forward to that. So I am going to turn it over to Kara, and she's going to tell you about spend today to tell you about the wonders of what they have been up to and what they have been doing for many, many, many years at Siemens. Okay, I turn it to you, Yvonne. Here we go, Kara.
Thank you so much, Bev. It's really wonderful to be here with everybody today. And on the line also, I have Elfie Pratt, who is one of our recruiters. So I'm excuse me, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Siemens and Siemens Mobility and what we have been up to, as well as some of the things that you might be interested in when you're going through your job search. But any specific questions, Elfie can definitely help us out in the expertise there. And maybe before we get started in going through what Siemens is, I'm actually going to pose a question to all of you. So if you could please get out your cell phones. I know that's not something you often hear in class. I am going to ask you just a couple of questions from Mentimeter. So first of all, if you go to www.menti.com and use the code 30780245. I want to know, why are you interested in a career in infrastructure? We'll give everybody just a minute to pull those up and start putting your answers in.
And then also, the screen's currently not present. I don't know if you wanted to have the PowerPoint presented, but right now it's just like on the regular screen. I think I got to press the present button.
Does it look like a website?
No, it just looks like we just see the regular PowerPoint screen right now.
Oh, okay. Let me stop that share and go to this one then.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Okay,
perhaps
perfect.
a
Yep.
little bit
That's
better.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thanks so much, Isaiah.
Yeah, of
Okay.
course.
All right.
So
Get
go
those.
to Menti.
Come
Grab
on.
those
Get
phones.
those. Oh, to help. Yay.
That's exactly what you want to hear, right?
That's what, that's what I always like to hear.
Let's give everybody a couple minutes. Go ahead and fill in your responses. I've learned there's money. Okay. There can be, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
We have the big infrastructure bill coming up, hopefully. So
Oh, I'm telling
fingers
you, we
crossed.
all looking for it. Mhm.
Let's get a couple more responses in there.
Now, what would make you interested in these infrastructure careers? Money, that's one thing. Helping communities, okay. What else could you think about? If this is going to be something that you could be doing for you saying I could do for my lifetime. Nothing else?
Job security.
Ah,
That's a good one.
that's a good one.
Definitely a
And
good
and
one.
quite candidly, as you heard, I mean, I'm just being candid. These are essential jobs. People say we make normal happen. And as you heard, Omnitrans and some of the other actual providers who came in here, their folks were not laid off during the pandemic. Okay. And so, and that is really, really saying a lot. Mhm.
All right, and a couple other ones that have come in: meaningful work and growth and development, bring good infrastructure. First of all, I can totally agree that we need to bring good infrastructure or even better infrastructure to America. But what I hope to accomplish by this presentation is to reaffirm that all of these things are absolutely true when you're looking at Siemens or any other infrastructure provider. These are absolutely great reasons to be in the industry. And there's a plethora of different opportunities in which you can think about when you're thinking about your career and what direction to go in. Promotions and benefits too.
Exactly. And that part about growth and development, what we say about our sectors is that it's about more than a job. What we're talking about is really a careers for a lifetime. Okay. And as you've heard the different people talk about their own lives and how they started out, I was doing this, and now 7, 8, 9 years later, okay, they've been able to go into other directions within the same infrastructure sectors. Okay, so it's wonderful.
Absolutely. Helping people and changing people's lives, and those I think are good ones to kind of land on here. So now I'm going to pose 2 more questions before we go back to the presentation. The first one: have you ever heard of Siemens before today? So this is simple, yes, no answer. It's not a quiz. I'm not going to judge. No, I'm going to guess that one person who's put in their answer so far is not alone. Oh, yes. Okay, that's good.
We got a yes. And a pink and a blue. Okay. Oh, all right. Oh, yeah.
Well, for those of you that are doing red, since I'm the head of communications for Siemens Mobility in North America, I think that means I need to be doing a better job of getting brand visibility out there. But I think it's very commonplace. Siemens is really well known globally, and I think well known within the sphere of those who work with Siemens. But we are not necessarily as well known here in North America. So it's one of the things that I personally find most challenging and most fun about my job is how do we really get how do we get more people to know about Siemens? So I think it's fair to say that we have more no's than yeses. And so it'll be great as I go through what Siemens is and what we do and kind of the breadth of where Siemens touches your lives that you don't even know, but probably have come across Siemens before. And for those few of you that had gone ahead and said you do know Siemens, I'd be curious to know what you think of when you think of Siemens, because I'm going to guess the vast majority of people who are aware of Siemens in this call probably don't necessarily think of transportation. Elfie and I work with Siemens Mobility, as Bev mentioned earlier, and we're the transportation division of Siemens, but not everybody necessarily goes, Siemens trains. A lot of times you hear some of the other aspects of work. So if you have heard of Siemens before, can you give me that one thing you might think of? We'll see if any coffee machines and washers and dryers. Excellent. We do get a lot of the appliance businesses, and it's funny because at this point, Siemens doesn't even own appliances. There are some licensing deals out there that remain, but we have long since gotten out of the appliances. So let's find out more about what Siemens actually does do. And let me take a second to go back to the presentation.
Okay, yeah, you're good.
Okay, so Siemens is a very large organization that touches on a number of different aspects of industry. Let's see. Oh, wait. Are you seeing an orange box on my screen or no?
No, I think it's just on your end.
Okay. All right. So I will not worry about that then.
Yeah, you're good.
Siemens is committed to addressing basically the greatest challenges of our time. At the core of Siemens, we have three particular aspects of industry. We have our mobility business, which I'll go into in more detail in a little bit, our digital industries business, and our smart infrastructure business. So if you walk away and say, hey, I'm really not interested in transportation, I would say don't give up on Siemens being a potential career choice for you, because we do touch on a lot of other aspects. In addition, Siemens has Siemens Energy and Siemens Healthineers, which are really committed to transforming energy and the energy transition, as we all know, that needs to happen in order to meet sustainability goals, and healthcare. The reason that Siemens has broken out into multiple different organizations, our fleet of ships, if you will, is really because Siemens realized a while ago that it needed to be flexible and nimble. Gone are the days of the traditional conglomerate that can be there and really operate slowly but steadily. We want to make sure that we are keeping up with the fast pace of society and able to address the needs not only of today, but of tomorrow, and really be able to do that in a way that's most effective for all the communities around us. So how are we doing that? We are really supporting the backbone of society. Everything from manufacturing to infrastructure to mobility. Siemens wants to make sure that we are providing quality of life to all aspects of all communities in which we operate. So whether that is making sure that our buildings become more efficient with different energy transitions, or our digital industries can help develop the COVID vaccine. So we worked very closely with BioNTech in order to make sure that it was a fast production process. Siemens is really out there making sure that we deliver in order to make society better as a whole. So we are transforming the everyday. Here in North America, what does that mean? Well, Siemens has been operating in the US for more than 160 years. It's funny because I would say, just like most people don't know that we are operating in the US now, even less know that we've been operating in the country for quite that long. We've invested over $40 billion into the economy, and we touch pretty much every single state and many communities across the US. Apologies for the dog barking in the background. That tends to happen quite a bit in my house. And we have more than 24,000 suppliers. So beyond just having our own employee base that's extremely strong, we're creating jobs in every aspect of society. And it's one of the things we're most proud of, is for as far as our contributions to the US, is not only the technology that we have here, but our really local presence. Siemens enables all of the regions to really build up that presence in a way that is most meaningful to those communities, and we are doing that here in the US. So what does that translate to as far as kind of overall stats? In the US, we have $17.2 billion annual revenue with about 225 million in exports. So we are manufacturing here in the US and sending elsewhere. It's not necessarily, even though we're Germany based, it's not necessarily that we are importing things from Germany and then just selling them to the US, which I think many people are interested to learn. And as I mentioned before, we have that very strong employee and supplier base with 26 different manufacturing sites. Of those 26 manufacturing sites, 8 of those are mobility manufacturing sites. So as Bev mentioned earlier, we have our rolling stock manufacturing facility in Sacramento, California, which has 2,100 people working there on a day in and day out basis. We have a smaller facility in McClellan Park just outside doing our customer service manufacturing, and we have others two in Kentucky, one in Pennsylvania, one in Oregon, one in Georgia. So we are across the country, making sure that we are close to our supply chain and to our end customers as well. So now let's look a little bit closer at Siemens Mobility, our transportation division, and I'm going to share a video with all of you.
From the very beginning, we feel the urge to move and discover the world. We walk, ride, drive, and travel. We're always on the move to learn, work, relax, keep fit, explore, and of course, to meet each other. When we can't, we confine our very nature. We depend on mobility for ourselves and for moving all those things we need and want in life. We've always been very ingenious when it comes to getting ahead faster, more safely, more reliably, and with greater comfort. Today, we need new solutions for new challenges. This is what drives us. This is why we're so passionate about mobility and always go that extra mile to move beyond what's possible today. We are pioneers in transportation, helping our customers keep the world in motion. As their trusted partner, we create ways to move people sustainably and seamlessly, from the first mile to the last. This is our vision. This is what we're moving toward and beyond.
So the reason why I wanted to share that is I think it really encapsulates why a lot of people enjoy working for Siemens Mobility. Transportation touches all of our lives, and you oftentimes have employees that are saying, I love being able to go and ride the light rail vehicle with my child and say, I made this. If it's not something that they ride every day, it's still something that they see the benefits of how it's connecting communities, connecting people with employment opportunities, making a more equitable society, making a more sustainable society, making sure goods get to and from where they need to go. So it is something that it's more about the purpose-driven and mission than I think it is just about the products in which we manufacture. And it's one of the things that I personally love most about the organization as well.
From the very
beginning. Okay. So going a little deeper into some of those things from the video that they mentioned, we are coming out of a pandemic. Ridership is low in a lot of places. Why are we continuing to invest in transportation? Well, regardless, cities are going to grow. Population is going to continue to increase, and we will see more cities. We can't have more cars on the road. Roads can only go so many places. You can only expand so much, and we want to take cars off the road because, let's face it, they're a major contributor to a lot of our emissions challenges. And even with e-vehicles, there is the continued problem of how do you provide that electricity and have that green electricity. So from a transportation standpoint, we see that the public transit is the answer to a lot of these things. Travel distance is continuing to increase. People are living outside the cities. They need to go different places and they need to be connected. It's not only about, hey, here's the light rail vehicle. It's about that first to that last mile and making sure that people have the ability to get from one place to another from the time they leave their door until the time they arrive where they're going. In addition, a couple of other trends that we're seeing: climate change, that was obviously encapsulated in the video, and digitalization. So these are kind of the things we're thinking about when we think about what type of infrastructure do we need to help provide in order to deliver the solutions for tomorrow. And this obviously just is an even bigger description of the climate challenge and where we see that transportation being a major solution to those emissions challenges. But how do you really use transportation? One of the things we in the United States are often faced with is we have our transportation systems. Some of them are well written in certain cities, others of them are not. And what that really comes down to is making sure that there is that important transportation planning. So when you're thinking about a career in infrastructure, you could be thinking about, how do I get involved with the manufacturing side? You could be thinking about, how am I involved with a more consultative position to make sure that cities really think about where they need to be connecting people to and from, not necessarily, oh, this is our greenfield space and we want to go out there and start. And then when they think about how they want to connect, one of the big things, we all have our cell phones, we did the Mentimeters earlier, making sure that that's easy for people to use. And that's about that first and that last mile. So whether it's connecting the bus system to the light rail system, or to the metro, or to the subway, or it's that shared bike riding system, or the scooters we have in the cities, it's how do we make it easy for people to use it and know how do they need to get to their school or their work. And one of the things that we see as key to that is really making sure that people have that single interface and being able to use that. This kind of goes into that mobility operating system even more so. So Siemens Mobility is involved in all aspects of the transportation ecosystem. And so we want to make sure that those are really able to be connected and be connected through digitalization. So what are we thinking about when we're delivering to mobility operators? We're thinking about, how do we make sure that the trains and the infrastructure are as intelligent as possible? We have our hardware, and in Siemens, we're really good at having that hardware, that train, if you will, or those tracks that are on the ground. But how do we make sure they're giving us the data that we need in order to be smarter and think about how we use that infrastructure more wisely? Increasing value sustainably over a life cycle. Infrastructure is expensive. The infrastructure bill is a once in a lifetime opportunity for us to invest in that. But what we need to do is make sure that those transit operators are out there are getting the value of those vehicles that they purchase over the course of their lifetime, not just about that one-time purchase. Making sure that passenger experience is good. Let's face it, everybody's heard about the delays on a metro system, or, oh my gosh, the seats are hard, or I was so squished in there and there's no fresh air. And particularly now, HVAC is always a key aspect of that passenger experience. So how do we make that better? And for us, we make that better in a couple of different ways. One, we do a lot of research on what passengers need and want, and work in a co-collaborative manner with our customers in order to deliver those aspects. But also thinking ahead of thinking what type of data can we have from the experiences that are happening to know where passengers want improvement. And guaranteed availability. Nobody wants to be late to school, wants to be late to work. How do we make sure that our customers, the transit operators, have trains available to get people to and from where they need to go? So some key facts that you see here about Siemens Mobility. We are a global transportation operator or transportation provider. We have about 36,000 employees worldwide. We do about $10 billion in revenue every year. In the US, that revenue is about $4 billion a year. And we try to stay at the forefront of innovation. Those are kind of our key things. We really want to make sure that we're providing the latest and greatest transportation out there. In the US, as I mentioned, we're about 4,000 team members strong within mobility. So out of those 40,000 you saw from Siemens in the US entirely, we're about 4,000 in mobility. We have 2,000 suppliers across 40 different states, and we work very closely with them. Those suppliers are anywhere from very small DBE suppliers that we have very close relationships with to very large suppliers and major companies in the US like Cummins that supplies our engines. And so one of the things to think about when you're thinking about a different career is where in the spectrum do you want to be involved? Is it that you want to be helping build those trains? Is it that you want to be involved from a supply chain aspect? All of them are different aspects of the industry that are critical in order to keep America moving forward. We work with about 40 different transit agencies throughout the US, and I'll show you a map in just a second where those look like, and then you can say, hey, did I ride any of those vehicles recently? We don't just manufacture the vehicles though, we are providers of rail crossings. We do a lot of the digital aspects of rail infrastructure as well, positive train control that was delivered. We were one of the first to deliver that to a mass transit agency. And we do a lot of rail asset management as well. So what do we look like from an organization? We're a large matrixed organization, but if you boil it down, when you get to Siemens Mobility, we have 4 key business units here in the US. We have our rail infrastructure division, developing those crossings, developing the automation, doing electrification, a key aspect of light rail vehicles, and hopefully someday high-speed rail here in the United States. And then our rolling stock division, which is the one that makes the trains. So whether you're riding passenger trains for Amtrak, or you're on the Brightline train in Florida, or you're on a light rail vehicle, Siemens is out there delivering those trains themselves. And then customer service, equally as important, is keeping those trains out there healthy, real time, making sure we have the predictive maintenance to keep those trains on the tracks. So that's our customer service division. And our tractions drive division is responsible for a lot of the systems that go into the trains, the bogies, the drives, kind of the backbone of everything that goes into rolling stock. So where do we operate? I mentioned our 8 manufacturing facilities earlier, but we also have a number of different offices throughout the United States as well. So you see those not too far away in Sacramento and McClellan, but we also have them throughout the East Coast, throughout the Midwest, elsewhere on the West Coast. And why do I show this? Because one of the things that I really love about working with Siemens Mobility is that I get to work on a daily basis with people from all over the country and all around the world. And the one key element that every employee has is they're proud of being able to deliver transportation solutions to communities that are closest to us. So we're delivering those transportation solutions to all of the different aspects of the country. And I've mentioned a little bit about what we do before, but here are kind of some more of the specifics of the solutions that we deliver. And I think the thing about this is, if you're thinking about what do I want to do? How do I want to be involved in infrastructure? Do I want to work for a transportation provider? I think the thing about it is, and we'll get into more job specifics in a little bit, but you can be the one who's building that train. You could be the one who is sitting there designing and doing the R&D for the new features. We're always in need of different software engineers and project managers, but you could also be one who is the software engineer for some of our data solutions, our digital analytics. More and more, we need those type of skill sets that software engineers, computer engineers, data analysts, that the transportation industry wasn't seeing the need for these type of skill sets a decade or two ago. And so we have our Rail Agent, which is one of our rail assets capabilities. CBTC is communications-based train control, which is responsible for operating mass transit systems, making trains be able to be closer together, so you increase that capacity. And we're doing that in some of the most complex cities in the world, New York, Paris, London, and it's really making sure that people are getting to where they need to be and they're getting there safely. And light rail vehicles, obviously, part of our rolling stock solution, as well as the locomotive side of things. When it comes to electrification, we do everything from the substations to the catenary lines. So if you're seeing light rail vehicles run, you may have seen the electricity lines that run above it. We have a lot of electrical engineers that are there and working on those different solutions. When it comes to the electrification business, we're also thinking about how do we bring high-speed rail to the United States. It's something that is constantly talked about, and we need it. We need it when it comes to taking shorter haul flights out of the air. We need it when it comes to economic opportunities and being able to connect cities. One of the things that some of my colleagues like to say most is if you look at Germany as that roadmap, as we often do at Siemens. If you go from Munich to Berlin, before they had the high-speed rail, there were little villages in between Munich and Berlin, and now there is city after city because people don't have to live in Munich. They can live an hour outside and get easily to work on a high-speed train. And so it's definitely something we've been thinking about. Our traction drives, I mentioned this before, the different components that we are looking at, and it's how do you design them? You have the CAD engineers who are out there designing these components, and then there are the people who are our production workers who are day in and day out physically building them and delivering them. And here in the US, we also have a very strong freight business. We don't manufacture the trains for the freight railroads, but we do a lot of the rail automation for the freight railroads too. So here you can see, I mentioned there'd be a map later. This is the map of our footprint of our different transit agency partners that we work very closely with. One of the things that I think a lot of people at Siemens Mobility like most is they get to work really closely with our customers. We oftentimes spend a lot of time being co-collaborative, coming up with the solutions that they need. So even though Houston and Minneapolis have the same light rail vehicles in theory, we have a winter solution that we worked really closely with in Minneapolis, and in Houston we have really hot weather vehicles. So we made sure that it has a different air conditioning system, that it operates from a maintenance standpoint in hot weather. And it's by working with customers to really find out what those challenges are and be able to deliver on them. And I think that is one of the things that people really like the most is how do we work across organizations to come up with innovative solutions. Coming into some of just a few specific customer case studies, and I'm happy to share this presentation so that people, if you're interested in finding out these case studies in more detail, you can take a look at them. We work very closely with Amtrak. Over the summer, we were very proud. We had a new $3.4 billion contract from the Amtrak. It's our largest Siemens contract in all of the US. So we have a lot of exciting work ahead of us. So join our team. But we do have other aspects of work that we've already been doing with Amtrak for more than a decade, including locomotives that run on the Northeast Corridor and on long distance routes. So we've been able to improve the performance on those routes, which is something that definitely needed to be done. I mentioned before the importance of being able to connect passengers through those multimodal apps, and one of the areas not too far away from you that we've been really working to do that is with BART and the multimodal trip planner that is being used there in order to make sure that you have the software needed in order to connect the different modes of transportation in a seamless manner. In Atlanta, we work very closely with Atlanta Streetcar, and they're one of our customers that really has been at the forefront of different digital solutions. So we have been doing maintenance for them, and we can tell well in advance if one of the bolts on the door needs to be replaced, or if we think, oh, that bogie is going to need to be oiled shortly. We can make sure that that gets done so that that vehicle is brought in a way that doesn't interrupt service and can reduce the downtime that the operator would have, so that everybody can get to and from work on every day.
Kara, I have to interfere. I have to stop here because that was one of my marquee projects when I was general manager in Atlanta. I know every bit of that route. We got the funding for it. We did the whole thing with the Tiger. Oh, swear to God. And I lived not that far from where that streetcar operates. So yay!
Excellent. That is great to hear.
I know, it's just too much. I tell you, it's like memory lane. Keep going, keep going.
All right, will do. Also on the innovative side of things, we have Portland's TriMet, where we are doing a lot with them when it comes to regenerative energy and making sure that the operations are as efficient as possible. They have been also at the forefront of working with us on a lot of the digital technologies. It's something we feel really strongly about because we want to make the assets that transit operators are purchasing as useful and intelligent to them as they can possibly be. If you have just the hardware alone, you're not getting all of the value out of the vehicle. And so we've been trying more and more to have customers realize the value of the data that can come out of the vehicles. On our infrastructure side, we have spent a lot of time really working on also the intelligent asset management, but more from a capacity and maintenance side of things. So for our freight railroads, is it monitoring the yard usage and how they operate within the yards? Or is it when they are going through different systems, we're moving a lot of them from fixed-based systems to moving block systems in order to get more vehicles out there having more capacity. And that also helps improve when those freight railroads are operating on the same lines as passenger railroads.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So
Kara, I'm going to stop you there. You said something earlier, and I think that because we have California high-speed rail is actually going to be coming in about a week and a half. But you said a bit about positive train control, okay, earlier. And that you all have really been one of the innovators in that. And just so I can tell the class that, and in fact, Metrolink it was really serious accidents that had occurred, not, in not just here, but in other parts of the country, but what the federal government actually mandated for every single commuter railroad was that they had to be able to bring in positive train control, which was a way of being able to automatically have the train stop. Okay. And Siemens was this was across it. It didn't matter whether you were in Jersey, Massachusetts, California, whatever. And Siemens really led the way, if you will, in terms of helping people to be the different systems to be able to actually meet the required mandate to be able to have those higher safety systems, if you will, braking systems in play. So, I mean, if you just, Siemens is in the business they know the business because they have that deep, we make the vehicles, we all that. But through the years, they've also evolved very much in terms of the technological side of things, how to be able to do things better, smarter. How do you integrate? Like we talk about infrastructure, we don't just talk about transportation. So they've been really noted as being an innovator, an integrator. How do you put it all together? And have really very much leading edge, if you will, globally, but certainly here in the States. So anyway, I asked you to say something, but I wanted to tell them. Wait, keep going.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think it brings up the good point, because I would say that's not only the case in the transportation business, as you mentioned. It's also in our smart infrastructure and our digital industries business. It's how we see ourselves as a company taking, again, those historic hardware aspects and making it intelligent, staying on that cutting edge of digitalization. And we like to think of ourselves as a key software company as well as hardware company these days.
Mhm.
I don't think we're quite to the Google and Amazon, but maybe we're the Google and Amazon of infrastructure.
Great.
So where do we see the business going in America? One of the big aspects, as I've mentioned a couple of times, is high-speed rail, and it's great that California high-speed rail is coming up shortly, because you'll get to hear more about it with them. And certainly California high-speed rail is somebody that we've been talking to, Brightline West, which is having the proposed line between Las Vegas and Los Angeles. In Texas, there's Texas Central that's out there, although that Siemens is not going to be involved in that one. It's supposed to be a Japanese company as well, but we really see it as a key aspect that needs to come in from an infrastructure standpoint. And why it's exciting is because not only is it going to connect cities in a faster way, but from a transportation planning aspect of it, you have in many cases all of the track that needs to get built. The actual infrastructure needs to be built and built in a well-designed manner. We think about it as, how do we get a blueprint out there for America? We need to make sure these systems are going to be interoperable. Right now, not all the designs call for interoperability, so different trains would be used in between California high-speed rail and Brightline West, and we see that as a problem. It's something that the industry has to think about, and how do we get out there and talk about it? But also the aspects of how are the operations going to actually work? We need to bring the electricity in. What does that mean for the sustainability benefits for the country, and how is it going to transform the way our economy works? What are those economic competitiveness benefits that we will see? What are the negative aspects of it? And all of those things I think are exciting to be at the forefront of, and what a lot of our employees are really excited to be a part of. We have a couple of people who are doing delegations from Germany, and they always say, if I can help bring high-speed rail to America, that'll be my marquee thing in my entire career. So let's hope that that's going to be a reality. I think it's something a lot of people would want to be about or be involved with. And then we think about, what are those future technologies? So we have a big R&D department within Siemens, and when they're thinking about R&D, there's all of the new aspects of propulsion, hydrogen being one of them. Why do we care? Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we have a cleaner environment in the communities that we're working in. Light rail vehicles obviously are zero emissions. Those are electric. But our inner city trains are not. We have a lot of locomotives out there that are still at least partially diesel. So we need to be thinking one step ahead, and where do we go from here? In addition to hydrogen, battery operated is obviously something we've been heavily exploring. In Charlotte, we have light rail vehicles that operate on and off catenary lines. So when they are on catenary lines, obviously they're using the traditional electricity. When they're off the catenary lines, they're using battery. We're also going to be delivering battery hybrid locomotives to Amtrak. So it's a lot of exciting things, and a lot of things that people like to get involved with, because it's not only how do you deliver just a product to somebody, but how do you deliver something that's new and really going to make an impact for society. All right. So that is my overview of Siemens and Siemens Mobility. Isaiah had said, make sure you have the 10-minute break in there at some point. So this is where I put the 10-minute break.
Yes.
And then after that 10-minute break, we're going to kind of transition things to talk a little bit more on the career side. So what type of jobs do we have? Where can you find those? How do you get involved? And I will leave people at that for those 10 minutes.
Okay. Take your 10 minutes, get those pizzas and go for it. That's it. Oh, you're going to go to the heart of the matter, how to join the team.
Of course.
Go to it, Alfie. This is what I'm talking about. So,
can you all hear me fine?
Yes, we can definitely hear you.
I got you.
All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about how to join our team. And before we do that, if you could pull your phones back out, I have another question for you. And now I got to remember how to stop sharing this and go to the other one.
Yeah, we can actually see it this time, so I think you're good.
Okay, yep. So when you think about your future career, what are you looking for in an employer? So you're going to the same Menti website, same code, and we want to hear about what you want from an employer. Good vibes. Positive work environment. Opportunities for growth. Union. Time off and sick days. Feeling like I matter. I think all of these things are really great aspects of things to think about when you're thinking about your future career. And hopefully we can check the box livable wage as an employer, diversity and representation. That's excellent. Hopefully we can check the box on these for most of them, if not all of them. I think, it's obviously always a work in progress when you're trying to be an employer of choice. And that's certainly what we want to be. We want to make Siemens Mobility a great place to work. Alfie, you want to comment on any of these specifically?
I just think that they're all good things that we, wish. And there's definitely, within the system of work and labor laws and all that encompasses, it's definitely an evolving situation. And a situation that as an employer, we take seriously. So, that's what I'd like to add to it. We want to provide opportunities for growth, create an environment where folks feel like they matter and their voice matters, and a place where there's, diversity and representation, and definitely time off and sick days and so on and so forth. So those are pretty standard, and a lot of the comments I see are pretty typical of what employers you could find typically within the organization.
Absolutely. And I would just add to that, when it comes to inclusivity and diversity and feeling like you matter, one of the things that we're most passionate about is how do we as an employer get to the point where we're really representative in the communities in which we're operating? So wherever we are throughout the country, we want to be a representation of those particular communities. So from a diversity standpoint, do we have the right mix of men and women? Certainly the transportation industry has historically been very male dominated. And so how do we increase opportunities for women there? When it comes to ethnic background, how do we make sure that we're getting a right mix of different ethnic backgrounds in organizations? We know that being a diverse company makes us stronger and makes us be more innovative. And so we're always striving to really improve. And honestly, I don't think you can ever get to the point where you're the ideal representation or of diversity or anything of that sort. It's always a moving target. So one that we're committed to making positive impact on. When it comes to different growth opportunities, I can say since I started Siemens 4 years ago, and in those 4 years, I'm in my third role. I have definitely been provided a lot of growth opportunities. I actually started in a different Siemens division. I started in our corporate division doing public affairs work. And then I moved to mobility about 10 months after that, in part because I had come from Airbus. I love aviation, I love transportation, and I was just really passionate about it. So I wanted to be really in the weeds with the business. And since then, I've had the opportunity to grow and do a role globally. And then I'm in my current role here supporting North America as well. So, and I in my 4 years am a small microcosm of those who have really had their entire career at Siemens. We have a number of people that you go and talk to. 4 years is short in Siemens time. We have a lot of people who have been here for 20, 30 years and have started at very junior entry level positions and have worked their way up. Some that have started on the production floor and now are in our senior management team. And so I do think it's a really great place to grow your career. So going back to how we do that, where do you find out about Siemens mobility opportunities? The best and first place I would tell you to check is our website. So all of our career opportunities are listed up in the website. When you get this presentation, it is hyperlinked here, so you can check it out. But everything from internship opportunities to senior management opportunities are listed on the website. Anything you want to add to that, Elfie?
Yes. So like Cara was stating, all of our available opportunities will be advertised, and it gives you an opportunity to review different jobs to get your mind kind of spinning in regards to where you see or would like your career to start and progress. And so I do talent acquisition, and I support mobility in Sacramento, where I work with skilled trade. If there's positions outside of my scope, I still offer myself to contact, but we do have several talent acquisition partners that work across whatever business they support within the organization.
Great. Oh, and now I have another video to share with everybody. And this one is to give you a sense, because we have a lot of positions for those who are looking, or a lot of opportunities for those who are looking to break into the industry. Siemens Mobility doesn't have a lot of apprenticeship opportunities, but Siemens does, and Siemens in the US does throughout the other divisions. So there's that opportunity. The video that I'm going to show in just one second is an engineering development program that we have in one of our business units, where it's a 2-year program and people can move through 6 different rotations during that time and really get an opportunity to test out different engineering fields. And then we have other internship opportunities. People often move between one business unit or in different Siemens companies as well. So it's really about how do you get started and where do you go from there. So let me play this video.
Hiring people to come into this industry, or junior people who had not had any work experience at all yet, was challenging.
The market for experienced engineers is definitely competitive. We decided to create our own program where we could grow our own proficient engineers within the business.
The EDP program is a technical engineering training program for new graduates out of college.
They've been able to hit the ground running, participate in active projects, produce for projects, and really contribute to the success of the work that we do.
We have maintained 100% retention. They all continue to grow and develop their careers within Siemens.
It's pretty cool to be able to say that I'm working on something that I will get to ride, and millions of people will get to ride once it's all done.
The people that are EDPs that go through the program, they have a better understanding of the company as a whole. So the fact that I could try out different functions within engineering, all within the same company, having a full-time job was very exciting.
So that gives you kind of a little bit of a closer look through one different lens of how do you break through. But what if that's maybe not a good fit for you for engineering? Well, what other types of jobs? Well, you don't necessarily say, hey, infrastructure, oh, I'm going to go into finance, but there are a wealth of different opportunities to join the team. So it's everything from accounting, communications, customer service, engineering, human resources, IT, legal, manufacturing, marketing, procurement. I mean, we are so, as if you've been reading the news recently, the supply chain is obviously a significant challenge, and we really rely very heavily to make sure that we are able to deliver to our customers on our procurement team. Project management, we're always looking for new project managers and capable project managers who are going from one division to the next in the different types of projects. Research and development, sales, strategy. And why just laundry list these different departments? Because everybody has different interests. Everybody has different likes. And where you fit in, I think, is really up to you to define that. I did my undergraduate in international studies and economic policy and my master's in international economic development. I never saw myself in communications and PR, and yet I know that I am in the right career field. And it wasn't until after trying it and getting going that I was like, hey, international development may be too bureaucratic for me. I need to try something new and different. And the thing about it is, had I done that within Siemens, started off in one field and then decided, hey, I want to transition to the next, it would have been really easy and seamless to do. There are many people that have start their career in one place and then get experience in another. Alfie, anything you want to add to that?
No, I think that, just keep in mind that within the jobs that you do find available, it's a good precursor for you to identify things that you may be interested in, making sure that it's an opportunity that best fits where you see yourself within the organization. A lot of us go to school, elect degrees. Mine was in human resource management and took me well over a decade to get into it. But it's still everything I did prior to led up to this opportunity. So keep that in mind as well.
The other thing I would say is if you see a job description and you don't necessarily hit every single one criteria on there, it's still worth it to apply.
Yes.
So often I think people get mirrored in job descriptions, and do I check every single box? Well, you know what? There's a lot of intangibles that don't necessarily come to life in that job description that you may meet when you sit there and talk to Elfie or a hiring manager down the road.
Yes. Very true.
So what does life at Siemens really look like? Well, it's definitely exciting. And I have to say, I think we offer a really amazing benefits package. Maybe this is inaccurate, but I think because we're coming from a global organization that we just have a lot to offer. We have very robust health benefits. Additional benefits for paid time off. We're working from home 2 to 3 days a week, and we have a really strong emphasis on work-life balance. We have our EAP programs, employee resources groups that are out there doing everything they can, and obviously 401k and financial resources. Some of these I think are really standard to a lot of employers, and something you should be looking for as you're thinking about where you're going to go. And others I think are really unique. So Siemens used to be the, hey, everybody has to come in the office 5 days a week. Our new normal of working 2 to 3 days a week came about after the pandemic started. Our senior management said, hey, this remote working is working, and people can work from home on average 2 to 3 days a week. Now, it's not everybody. We know that our production employees can't necessarily do their jobs from home, so they are on the ground the 5 days a week. But there are other aspects that that we have as far as connecting them to different opportunities. We have different communication channels, making sure that they're informed of everything that's going on. We have a lot of different just nice to do's. When we had a recent media event in our manufacturing facility, our senior manager walked around and randomly handed out $100 gift cards to some of our employees, just because it's nice to show that you're appreciated. And it's something that our leadership is really committed to, is making sure, how do we make sure that employees feel appreciated, feel that we are delivering the needs and making sure that it is a great place to work. All of our employees are going to find out later this week that we are going to be getting an extra day off. And it's an extra day off just for gratitude. The day before Thanksgiving was not a holiday previously. And now we are going to give it to everyone in the organization just to recharge, refresh, know it's been a tough year. So Siemens really strives to be that employer of choice. Alfie, anything else to add?
No, I think that was perfectly stated.
Okay, great. Well, with that, I'm kind of wrapping it up. So I'd love to open it up to questions. I know that's not maybe the easiest thing to do, but Isaiah, if there are any questions in the room, or if anybody's sent any through to you, we'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, for sure. Yeah. I guess, yeah, we'll take like a little bit of time of questions to come in, and then same with Omar's classroom. I guess like students would like come up, or Omar would like relay the questions. So yeah, we'll just wait like a sec or two.
I have a couple of questions. Let me ask you this. Two. One is it pretty easy to, are things portable from one area in Siemens? Like if you were Siemens and you were out here in the West Coast and you said, oh, I've seen some things, or I'm really thinking that I might want to go to the East Coast or whatever. I guess I'd like to understand this. Can that happen pretty reasonably? Okay, if you're qualified for, and then if you would kind of think of some of the core positions you have and think of what, if anything, do I think that individuals would be able to be qualified for, knowing that we are going to do on-job training too, directly out of high school. Now, understanding we're college students in here, but for the most part, directly out of high school, which positions it would be that you would qualify, be eligible, but it's more the community college, a 2.5-year technical institute, apprenticeship, very job-focused apprenticeship program. What opens up at that point, understanding that people will always be wanting to do continuous learning, and then which positions we know, like, you almost say almost all the time, well, if you need to have an engineering degree, you need to have an engineering degree. But if you could kind of talk a little bit to that, and I think, Alfie, that's probably you, okay, to say, all right, let me be clear. This is what you can do here, here, and here.
So a lot of the job descriptions will define that for you. But entry-level positions, I would say, would probably be like assemblers.
Okay.
Within the mobility side.
Okay.
I hire skilled trade, primarily welders.
Okay.
Okay. And in the scope, we do have a partnership with a staffing agency as well.
Okay.
My position will require some experience, which is typically 2 years, right? But
Okay.
an excellent thing that Siemens offers is we have a contingent option where maybe someone may have done some welding in high school, liked it, may have fallen out. Well, Akara can work with you. Everyone starts in our weld education center, regardless of experience. So you have 12 weeks to get yourself up to speed. You will be in class paid.
Okay.
And getting the skills and certifications needed.
Mhm.
I think that's very unique. It's not
Yeah.
offered by a lot of companies, and I think it's a great option
Well,
for individuals.
Alfie, that's great, because when you look at the San Bernardino Valley College, there are about 17,000 enrolled. About 6,000 are of the students that are enrolled are absolutely in a career technical education track. Okay, and I'm saying, and so that some of what you've even talked about, there's some welding and all that, and they actually receive funding, $70 million actually under Measure M that was passed locally, that they're going to be replacing this older major facility they have, and it's going to be like 100,000 square feet of everything, Star Wars, robotics, and all that kind of stuff like that will be available. So that's another reason why the partnership in the infrastructure sectors with San Bernardino Valley College is such a good one, is because their legacy has always been very strong in terms of they never abandoned career technical education like a lot of other areas did. So that's great to know that you could start up. Okay, that's good. And then what about how you go, and maybe it's Kara there too. If you could, you say, like, I really want to I'm interested in Atlanta. Okay, so if you were over here and you could, can you look at those kind of cross the country kind of opportunities?
So I'll chime in on the last question first, and then tackle that one too. So also opportunities, maybe not within Siemens Mobility, that you can come in entry level. A lot of our apprenticeship programs that I mentioned exist in the other divisions. So Siemens Energy has it, Siemens Smart Infrastructure has it. We have those apprenticeship programs that are still paid programs. You just get the experience on the job. It's a lot of the community college graduates or those who have started classwork that are coming into those type of opportunities, because our Siemens Foundation is really committed to really driving that portion of our employment pool. So I would encourage people to, for the job website that's in here, there's all of our Siemens jobs worldwide. It's sorted through to the US are there, but it doesn't matter division there. You can check.
Okay.
And I would say, as far as moving from one location to the next, absolutely, that happens all of the time. Even at our senior management level, there are talent discussions, and the different business units are talking about high potential talent from one place to the next. And a lot of times they want them to get experience in a different division, and so they move them. But it doesn't necessarily have to be even in that leadership realm. It could be a project manager. We have a lot of recently one of our plant managers moved from one plant to another plant to take over. And when it comes to the production employees, I know that we've had employees that have gone from Sacramento to our Alpharetta, Georgia facility. So it does happen. It is one of the big benefits, I think, of being a large global organization, is that we want to hire from within. There's benefit from knowing the Siemens structure, from knowing that, having the network and meeting different people. And so if we have that opportunity out there at another place that somebody's interested in, we want to make it happen. And I think that's happening even more now with the pandemic, and people thinking, hey, am I in the place that I want to be in? And sometimes that answer is no. Maybe they want to be closer to family, or maybe they just want to try a newer, cheaper city. And so we have had the opportunities to make that happen.
Okay. That's fabulous. Okay.
A question that I just got, this is for both Kara and Alfie. What would you guys consider to be your favorite part of your job / like, I guess, like a favorite moment as well?
You want to go first, Alfie?
It seems like you got yours. You can start.
Okay. I mean, so the favorite part of my job, and I kind of touched on this earlier, is no 2 days are the same. I love doing different things, and communications is really an opportunity to do that. So some days I have a internal challenge. Some days there's a crisis media topic. Other days we're planning an event. We just recently did an awards ceremony for our employees for a Mobility North America Employee Awards, and it keeps it interesting. And at the same time, that's like my day-to-day, and for me, it has to be about that bigger mission. I couldn't go and do communications for a company that made shoes or something of that sort. And so I like the fact that transportation has the opportunity to shape the future. As far as favorite moments or memories, that's a really good question. Honestly, I think one of them is a global experience. I had the opportunity to be a part of launching digital interlockings, which that's in the rail industry. That's all of the parts that connect the different rail tracks, and typically it's very hardware driven. You have to go and do the maintenance on them. What we've done is move them to the cloud in Norway, and so I was part of doing one of the milestone events for that, and it's really exciting because you can really see how it's making a difference. Norway is a really large, vast country, and the part of the north doesn't have a ton of people living in it, and you can see how this is going to transform their rail network, and that's pretty exciting to be a part of.
It's a great response.
Yeah.
So, I enjoy supporting the organization, the business, but I also love learning about people's background and interests. So for being a talent acquisition partner, it's a great opportunity to experience both. I am new to Siemens, so I've only been here for 7 months. And it's been exciting. I've come from logistics and public transit in Houston. I was Houston Metro Transit for 4 years and worked in aviation. I really enjoy listening to how I can support or help you with regards to where you see your career either starting or progressing in. And I also really enjoy and love working with management to understand what their need is and how my role can help them satisfy that need. So it's always that combination that makes it exciting. Like Cara said, what I do is consistent, but not all days are the same as well in human resources. So it's gotten very specialized. I'm on the the talent acquisition side, and there's a lot of exciting aspects to it and some headaches as well, some from time to time. But for the most part, I think my personality affords that for me. And I'm grateful, like I said at the beginning, that I've been able to experience so many different industries that finally led me to where my degree was in, and everything kind of made sense. So it was just kind of these steps that weren't really defined in the beginning, but as everything started to line up, it helped made sense to what my purpose is. And, you know, I really enjoy helping you. You know, I take calls, emails, LinkedIn is what I would like to touch on too for your students.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
And maybe I would just add just one other thing. I think Elfie and my working relationship is an excellent example of how we operate within Siemens. We try to be really collaborative across all different departments. And
Yes.
Elfie and I have worked really closely in putting together a campaign to how do we recruit more welders. And so I think it's a good example of where the different functions come together.
Yes.
Isn't it? That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And this is so funny. Lord, I feel like memory lane. I started in transit in 1977 in Houston before there ever was a Houston Metro, and I hired Tom Lambert.
Oh, yeah. So
I swear to God, it's hilarious. I sit here and I listen to people. I said, this is like, so it's like, this is like memory lane. I tell you. Nope, they did. They had an unsuccessful anyway referendum in '73, and then when I went there in '77, we went for the 1% sales tax in '78 and got it.
And Tom Lambert is still the president and
He's still the
CEO?
president. He was the first chief of police that I hired him as chief of police. Okay, because Houston Metro. Yeah, Houston Metro. Well, that's to go show you, just for the students that are in here. Now you have a general manager. You would not think that. You have a general manager and CEO over all of the Houston area. And you would never think that the person that would be running that would be from law enforcement.
Yes.
Okay. And he was absolutely young guy, chief of police. But through the years, what he did, not only as the system was growing, but he was one who understood technology. And so when they were starting to do all of these smart centers and operations control, he broadened. Okay. And I'm saying, and so those are some of the kinds of opportunities that you can really, I mean, I started out in political science and planning. Okay. And I'm saying, who would ever think I would be running systems if there's certain things you just say, oh, that would never happen. You have to be an engineer, or you have to be a this, or you have to be a that. No, you got to learn things, but you don't have to be Einstein either. Okay. And I'm saying, but I tell you this much, if you never get on the mound to get up to bat, you will never hit the home run. Okay. So you gotta, just like they were saying, if you see something, take advantage of it. Don't always think that you have to have every single qualification that's in there. Sometimes we get ourselves scared and we'll say to ourselves, oh, I'm not as good enough. I'm not good enough. And it's nice to practice. Okay. You see a thing, you say, well, you know what? I'm going to get my resume together. I'm going to, take my opportunity. And then, you get an interview, you critique yourself and you say, oh, well, maybe I could have done. And then you surprise yourself. You turn around, you say, oh my goodness, I got it. So, you just gotta, life is not for spectators. Okay. You have to be you want to be actively engaged in it and put your foot out there. You'd be surprised what'll happen. You put your foot out.
Yeah, thank you. In the chat, we got another question. What are some sustainable practices that Siemens is putting into action?
So Siemens has committed to be carbon neutral by 2030. So I would say that our sustainable actions come in a couple of different fronts. Like, what are we doing as a company to make sure that we hit that goal of being carbon neutral? Our Sacramento facility is a perfect example where we're up to 80% solar powered at our French Road manufacturing facility, which is pretty impressive and surpasses any other rail manufacturing facility in the US. And then we're doing the simple things like how do we use less paper at work, and those elements, making sure that our cafeteria has all sustainable elements to it. And then from the flip side of things, it's about how do we deliver sustainable technology. And so when I mentioned before that we're looking at hydrogen, we're looking at battery, we're trying to really be at the forefront of those different solutions that can eliminate carbon emissions from our world. And so I think that's the other aspect of it, is from the technology provider standpoint, trying to help that energy transition. And it's not just mobility. From our smart infrastructure side and the digital grid from our energy business, it's making sure that we have clean energy going forward. We have a wind power business that is also very active. So it is from all different fronts that we have that commitment for sustainability.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What other questions do you all have there? Would you speak a little bit too about the digitalization and how important those skills are? You had on one of the charts, one of the PowerPoints, there was a box that said digitalization, and I keep saying to everybody, look, I'm not trying to sell a chicken in every pot, but if you don't want to just be talking about your smartphone. You want to be digitally excellent. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Because when people say, it's not a reason to fear, but when people start talking about the types of jobs that are getting phased out, and then the kind of positions that are coming in, the coming in ones, like I say, don't be Einstein, but the coming in ones are all depending, many of them are, okay, I don't want to overdo, but many of them is a high level of digital proficiency. Okay. Now I don't have it. Okay. I work at it all the time, but I'd be the first one to tell you that I'm what they call digitally fragmented. Okay. And I understand that, but I work at it, but I still work at it. Okay. But that digital proficiency, and would you talk some, Karen, because all the smart and all these kind of things like that, you can't be scared of these technology. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not. You can't be scared of the technology. I think one of the biggest myths out there is that with digitalization, it means jobs are going away, or with automation, jobs are going away. And that is absolutely not true. What it is it's shifting that skill set that's needed in the workforce to be more digitally native. And what does that mean? Well, it means being able to really look and analyze and look at the data. It means being able to use the tools. I mean, the nice thing about the generation where most people are at this point that are coming into the workforce is that you're digital natives. You've had digital resources available to you for more of your lifetime than I have. I mean, I remember in fourth grade when we got our first computer, and this was a novel thing in school to have a computer in school. And these days, I look at my 10-year-old daughter, and she knows how to do more on her smartphone than I do. And it's not a smartphone, but it's like when you have a iPad that's on the manufacturing floor with a supervisor, what type of data are they looking at? How are they doing the workflow charts that are now digitalized and not necessarily paper driven that they would have had previously? It's being able to really learn the new skill set. And I think that's something that we as an organization have been very committed to. How do we teach people on the job to use these digital tools? As well as just being able to think differently of, well, maybe I come in and I start as a production worker, I become that supervisor who's looking at those tablets and workflows. And then I get to the point where I'm interested in being a data analyst. And you move through your career path in that different way. And it's just about being able to be adaptable, try new things with the new technologies, and being able to really think about learning new aspects of it. Now, on the customer side of things, we're thinking about digitalization for how do we harness that information coming off of a product to be able to analyze it or to be able to use predictive information. So maybe it's AI, maybe it's not through AI, maybe it's through just other algorithms to be able to say, when do we need maintenance ahead of time? Where is capacity going to be high based on past events? Or if we know that there's an event that's happening in a city and people are going to use the light rail system, where can we take information and make it smart information in order to make sure that operators have things to do to improve their system? Alfie, anything you want to add on the tool side at work?
Well, I think as you navigate and the way the world sits with regards to media, we all brand ourselves, or need to. And so what that means is you have access to technologies like LinkedIn and Facebook, which Facebook, I believe, has integrated a lot of features in it. So it could help you navigate your career if you use it correctly, right? So say, for instance, I ran across Kara's profile, and I'm a recruiter, but I was curious. I reached out and say, Kara, I've been in talent acquisition for 10 years. I've been, looking at exploring other opportunities that make, lead up. In reviewing your profile, your work experience is interesting. How would someone like me translate over to something like that, right? These are tools that can be immensely helpful for you. And one thing I've learned in my career as well, that people like to talk about themselves, particularly their career. Take advantage of that. People will love to share their story with you with regards to their career growth and development. So I think on that aspect and in exploring opportunities in Siemens, I would encourage you to use the social media that we have to brand our business. I'm on LinkedIn. My name is Alfie Pratt. Please connect with me. Any questions or anything I can ask, and I'll put my information in this chat below. But from that aspect, with the current technology that's available, it makes it a whole lot easier, and we're a lot more accessible than before.
Yeah, thank you. That was awesome. We don't have any more questions on our end, so I think I don't know if you want to add anything else, Dr. Scott, but I think from Omar's end, there aren't any questions in the SVB's class as well. Like, one of the students actually said, like, they actually all their questions that they had coming into the presentation were all actually answered like in the presentation.
Great.
So, it was actually a very, very informative presentation. So thank you for that.
That is wonderful. What we'll do is go through. One of the things I definitely want to do is to make sure that afterwards, and we'll do this ourselves, is make sure that some of the stuff about what I want to make sure, Isaiah, is that we have the links to the website.
Yeah.
And and I think one of the things we do is like a navigational kind of thing. Just make sure everybody, because you'll have stuff, but don't look at it. Okay.
Right.
Just like you live in the city and have all these things going on in the city and don't go to look at them. Okay. I'm saying, so every one of the only thing I can say is that really everything is so, going back to this digital, everything is so, go on my website, this is a very different world. The whole thing of just saying I'm gonna go see somebody face to face or all of that kind of stuff. You'll eventually get to see a face as you go through a screening on it, but you have got to start at the portals. Okay. And I'm saying, I'm just being honest. And so it's like you got to work it. Okay. And I'm saying, and so in terms of thinking about your own personal life planning, okay, and that's what it's all about, your personal life planning. This is one of those areas that you really need to put some time in to say, like, maybe 2 hours a week, just say, you know what, I'm gonna go through. Now I had 10 employers come in here and talk to me. Okay. I'm gonna take some time. I'm in my second year. I'm going to take some time and really go and really look at these websites and be looking at them, because jobs are constantly turning over and all that kind of stuff. Now, what we can help you, you have to make the qualification and eligibility. But that's one of the reasons that we're here, so that if you see something that you really have an interest in, now you need to make the application and stuff, but we can do things like call and, remind them, oh, so and so, they were in the program that you all came and you spoke of, and all that kind of thing like that. So there's those kind of informal things that you can wind up doing that are beneficial, okay, because of being in a program. But you got to do the legwork. You got to do the legwork, but it'll work. And these kind of things, and if you stay after it and stay after it and stay after it, it does happen, and it does connect. So I tell you, I am never sorry. You don't have but a few minutes anyway. I'm never sorry to give people back just a little bit of their time. Okay. I'm also very genuine too, that because to be able to see the Siemens facility up in Sacramento, since they're here, okay, is to be able to, because we're getting to where we can do some traveling and stuff like that, is these wouldn't be anything mandatory, but just ask if, a day or something like that, maybe 3-4 months from now, Siemens could make it possible for us to be able to have a tour.
You give us a date, and we would love to have people at any point in time.
Oh, that would be great. That would be great. So we'll put that on our list on our list for sure. So thank you so much. I mean, you guys have just really been unbelievable. And that whole thing in terms of the smart infrastructure and the technology and everything is so much appreciated. Thank you so much. Go Siemens, go. Okay.
Thank you so much for inviting us. We really appreciate the opportunity.
Yes,
okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right, thank you, everyone. All right, we'll
Bye.
see you guys
Bye,
next week,
everybody.
and then we will be
Bye,
sending
everyone.
over all the Siemens info to, like, their links stuff for the students as well. So we'll get
Okay.
that over to them soon for
Okay.
sure.
Now let me tell you this. So this is one thing I want to say as a reminder, because we're getting ready to start coming into all these holidays.
Mhm.
I want you to remind you about your projects. Remember, December 14th is the big submission date. If you're interested and you have met the qualifications, if you will, which is at least eligibility minimum, you need to have been in 5 of the sessions. We did say that we were going to make a bonus point on the session that was the CalSTART session last night, which was really interesting on clean energy positions. So on November 30th is the actual last in-person class that we have, and we're going to be really talking. And so you need to be really talking, because it's going to be more you asking me what I feel like about your videos because that's the thing, you will have been thinking all this time about how you're going to do your videos. Okay. And one of the things I'm going to do is show you some of the videos that students have done from some of the prior programs that we've had, but just to kind of listen to what you're talking about and you're thinking about and all of that. And what we'd like to get a good handle on is how many people are actually thinking that they're going to be in actual attendance at I call it at Mr. Omar's place, okay, in the lecture hall on November 30th, because HDR, one of our sponsors, wants to do like a they wanted to upscale the pizza. They want to do like a box dinner, I guess I would say. And so but because we're going into the holidays, we promised them that we would give them a kind of an estimated count around November 18th. So I'm saying all these things so you be thinking, okay, because that's one of the things that we would love to be able to do. It's kind of like our own little mini graduation. So we got the 2 things coming up. We got the December 14th for the opportunity for the community builder internship, which will be from February until August, and that will be minimum wage. It will be up to 20 hours per month. Okay. And we will make 2 selections from students that are in the program. And then the other is the goodie, as you know, we call it the youth pack, the goodie bag. Okay. The goodie bag drawing, that the raffle that we'll wind up doing. But both of those will involve both of those are going to involve the I'm going so crazy, I'm getting old, okay,
Mhm.
are going to involve your doing your My Beloved Community, videos. So anyway, so keep those things in mind. And then we also have another internship opportunity that we're going to show you. This is for next summer. That is USDO, Department of Transportation out of DC, but we'll post that one for Monday of next week so you can see it. And that one is not due to, and that's in Washington, DC. All expenses paid. They pay you. It's a paid stipend, all that stuff. But Mr. Castro will put that up on the screen and everything for next week. And it's not due until the end of January. Okay, so we got plenty of time to work on that one.
Mhm.
So, all right, everybody, I'm trying to keep you titillated now, okay? So anyway, God bless you. We love you very much. And
Thank you.
and there's nothing that you cannot do, okay? Take care, okay?
All right, thank you so much, guys. I will
Thank
talk
you.
soon.
Thank you.